I only read one book, but it's a good book, don't you know? I act the way I act because the good book tells me so. If I want to know how to be good, it's to the good book that I go. Because the good book is a book, and it is good, and it's a book.
And following the previous night's debauchery, Joseph did rise early, while his guests did sleep off the copious amounts of alcohol and recover from the recreational substances that they did abuse. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, "Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth." And with the tip of his little finger in the corner of his mouth he did say, "And put the magic divining cup, the silver cup, that is the type of cup that will be used for revealing important plot elements, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, and his corn money." And he did according to the word that Joseph had spoken. And the two of them did together laugh in a most sinister fashion at the devious plan that they had set in motion. And as soon as the morning was light, the guards of the house did wake the brethren from their slumber. And the men were sent away, they and their asses. For the head of the guard did say unto them, "Get thine asses out of here." And the brethren did meet with their father's henchmen, who had waited by the gate all night. And they did show them that the lad was indeed unharmed, and in good spirits, lest their father's henchmen should carry out their father's instruction, if he be hurt. And when they were gone out of the city, and not yet far off, and Joseph and his steward had finally settled from their maniacal bout of laughter, he said unto his steward, "Up, take a detachment of guards and a few of the choppers, and follow after the men. And when thou dost overtake them, say unto them, Wherefore have ye rewarded evil for good? And I wantest thee to find the magic cup in their baggage, and say, Is not this in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? Ye have done evil in so doing." And he did take 3 of the helicopter gunships laden with guards, and overtook them, and flying low they did circle the men, and the henchmen did raise their arms as if to shoot. But the steward did instruct them to lay down their weapons and surrender, for a theft had been committed against his master, and so he was anxious to speak to them. And Tony, who by now was dressed in leather and did wear darkened glasses, did turn unto Benjamin and say in a thick German accent, "Stay here, I'll be back," and did fire upon the Egyptians, as his fellow henchmen and the brethren's escort did also. And one of the helicopters did take a direct hit, and did explode in a mighty fireball, falling from the sky engulfed in flame. And Tony did say, "Hasta la vista, baby." And men in the remaining helicopters did fire upon them with the helicopter's side-mounted Gatling guns, and many of the henchmen did vanish in a cloud of red mist, as exploding anti-tank rounds did tear through them. And fearing for their lives, the brethren did shout unto those still left fighting that they should hold their fire. And seeing this, the steward did turn unto his men, and he spake unto them these same words. And when they did, of the henchmen only Tony did remain, though his clothing was now rags, and he did have such wounds that his bones could be seen, and they did appear as though they were made from burnished metal. And when the lad did tell him to drop his weapon, he did so, before falling to the ground in a crumpled heap. And the steward's men did surround them, and take up defensive positions, aiming their weapons upon them, as the steward's helicopter did settle unto the ground, and he and some of his men did alight. And he did walk over unto the brethren, and they did say unto him, "Wherefore saith my Lord these words? God forbid that thy servants should do according to this thing." And the brethren did look nervously amongst themselves, and said, "Behold, the money which we found in our sacks' mouths we brought again unto thee out of the land of Canaan. How then should we steal out of thy Lord's house silver or gold?" And making the kind of promise that all who did hear did surely know that they would later regret, one amongst them did say, "With whomsoever of thy servants it be found, both let him die. And we also will be my Lord's bondsmen. For though such a tactic had worked before for Jacob with his father-in-law, they surely were not Jacob, and it did occur to them not that they were being set up." And he being the steward, said, "Though thou may think of me as but a steward, I am in fact a lawyer. And I work for a powerful man, whose identity is most secret. And though thou realize it not, thou hast all wronged my master. and so thou doth bear him a great debt. Yet the fact that thou knoweth not that thou hast wronged him is the only reason that thou art still alive. Though this minor detail can be changed. And the brethren did talk amongst themselves, and one of them did relate unto the others a story of a man known as Kaiser Soze, and of his reputation, and they were afraid. And when he did have their attention once more, the steward said, Now also let it be according unto your words. He with whom it is found shall be my servant, and ye shall be blameless. Which wasn't exactly what they had said, but under the circumstances, none of them were going to argue. Then he did motion unto his men, and they did come forward, and they speedily took down every man his sack to the ground, and opened every man his sack. And taking his time, for great dramatic effect, the steward did walk among them, and he searched, and began at the eldest, and left at the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack, which was a plain silver coffee mug, and when he did turn it over, it did have the words Kobayashi porcelain, dishwasher safe, microwave safe, Indonesia, written in large red letters upon its base. Then, in a scene of great anguish and dramatic excess that would surely be chosen as the one that would be shown at forthcoming award ceremonies, they rent their clothes, and laded every man his ass, having had them handed unto them previously, and returned to the city under armed escort, with the helicopters flying overhead. And Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was yet there. And to be honest, they had little choice in the matter, and they fell before him on the ground. And still wearing his cunning disguise, so they would recognize him not, and presumably still talking unto them through an interpreter, Joseph said unto them, What deed is this that ye have done? Wot ye not that such a man as I can certainly divine? And Judah said, What shall we say unto my lord? What shall we speak, or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants, for it seems to keep slipping our minds that he doth know everything that has ever happened, is happening, or ever will, and it appears that only he could possibly have taken the cup and put it in the lad's sack. Behold, we are my lord's servants, both we, and he also with whom the cup is found. And being more forgiving than the Lord, who under similar circumstances would have by now evicted them all, and damned all their descendants for all of time, or just simply flooded the place, knowing that all of them were surely guilty of something, he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace unto your father. And they all did get up to leave, as the steward did whisper unto Joseph, who did then say, Sack! Did I say hand? Surely I did mean sack. And the brethren did sit down again. Then, because the scribe who did write this narrative did get paid by the verse, and did know that he would surely still get paid, even if what he did write next was just a recap of the previous chapter, Judah came near unto him, and said, O my lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my lord's ears, and let not thine anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My lord asked his servants, saying, Have ye a father or a brother? Obviously referring unto himself and his brethren as servants, and not Joseph's domestic staff. And being entirely naive and not realizing that there would be a plot twist later on, we said unto my lord, We have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. And leaving out the bit about the accusing us of being spies and taking one of our number and holding him hostage in thine dungeon, and making it a condition of his release, thou saidst unto thy servants, or rather me and my brethren, Bring him down unto me, that I may set mine eyes upon him. And not wanting to point out that there may be something deeply wrong with a grown man asking a band of visiting goat herders on a shopping trip to bring unto him young boys so that he may look upon them, we said unto my lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. And thou saidst unto thy servants, Thy servants be us, of course. Except your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more, presuming that we could not as simply use an intermediary who wouldst buy corn from thee on our behalf. And it came to pass, when we came up unto thy servant my father, we told him the words of my lord, and he was not at all impressed, and did shoot two of us in the knee for foxing up what should surely have been a simple errand of buying corn. And forgetting all about thy words that we did tell unto him, and his son being held captive, our father said, Go again, and buy us a little food. And we said, We cannot go down. If our youngest brother be with us, then will we go down. For we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother be with us. And in centuries hence, a man who would read this narrative in a humorous yet literal way would try to banish from his mind the images of us going down with our younger brother. And thy servant, my father, said unto us, Ye know that my wife bare me 2 sons. And Joseph did look unto his watch, and did shake it, lest it be broken, as Judah, who did not take the hint, did continue. And the one went out from me, and I said, Surely he is torn in pieces. And I saw him not since. And Joseph did yawn, and then did motion over to one of his servants, who did have some paperwork for him to sign, and he did come over, and did hand it unto Joseph, who did read through it, nodding occasionally unto Judah, as he continued more. And if ye take this also from me, and mischief befall him, ye shall bring down my grey hairs with sorrow to the grave. And Joseph did stop him, and did ask unto him if there was much more of this story. And Judah did say yes. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, as when he did try to strike him when he was but a baby, his mother did come between him and the lad, and because of it, some of his life force did transfer from him unto the lad, and the lad did become a thing called a horcrux, that did carry some of his soul within him. And it shall come to pass, when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die after a great deal of expletive-laden cursing, and thy servant shall bring down the grey hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave, and the whole of us will be in great trouble, no more so than the servant before thee. For, making an unbreakable promise, as a wizard may do, thy servant became surety for the lad, unto my father, saying, If I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father for ever. Now, therefore, I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad a bondsman to my lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren. For if the Lord doth stay here, and I doth return with him not, thy servant, my father, shall see to it that a man called Jimmy Hoffer, who shall one day be taken, and shall forever be part of the foundations of a thing called a skyscraper, shall be found before I am. For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father? And Joseph did think upon this, that his next actions could indeed be the death of his father, and he did imagine his brother in chains, for the rest of his life doing his bidding as he so demands. And he did smile, and he did look unto his steward, and together they did laugh manically, as the scene did fade to black, and the chapter was brought to an abrupt end. And far out, in the desert, in a tent at the edge of an encampment, an old man did put down his quill and stop from writing, as the Lord, who was with him, had instructed, and together they did marvel at the tense cliffhanger that did result. And then, after a while, the man did add unto it a 35th verse, that did read, Would Joseph take Judah upon his offer, and throw him in the dungeons, and let the rest go free? Or would he reject his offer, and keep the lad unto himself, leaving Judah to go back unto his father, with the news that would surely be the end of both of them? Or would the tale somehow turn out differently? Tune us in at the same time next week to find out. And he did imagine that exciting music did play. And the Lord did look upon these words, and did decide that they should be left out, as those that might read them in the future, despite the talking snakes, improbable floods, and the tall tales that made little sense and shared not anything that might be called reality, might just get the impression that this narrative was a complete work of fiction and nothing more than a serial drama.